Welcome to Between the Rig, a podcast hosted by Pushbox CrossFit. We're all about fitness and bringing you direct opinions wrapped in humor and a touch of, did they really just say that? We aim to help you understand more about coaching, gym ownership, and what it takes to get the most out of your fitness, mindset, and lifestyle, both inside and outside the gym. Let's get into it. All right, welcome back to Between the Rig, a podcast hosted by Pushbox CrossFit. And I am very excited for today's episode, mainly because I don't even know what we're going to talk about.
I know, we never talk.
And that is Julia Davis, our very own, or I like call JD.
Hi, everyone.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks.
First time?
First time ever.
Speaker in ever just talking?
Ever okay. Speaking.
Cool. We reference you and Anna a lot as the youth that keeps us in line with our old boomer vocabulary. So I'm excited. If I say anything, just call me out.
Okay.
I saw this little reel of this like high school substitute teacher that goes from school to school and jokingly just uses words. And when kids make fun of him, they're like, that's not what they were saying at the other high school. Like Pebbles was one of them. He's like, oh, man, that's pretty Pebbles. And they're like, what? He's like, oh, you guys don't say that here?
Maybe I'll just start saying things in the gym to confuse people. Me and Anna can get together and figure out.
Yeah, you guys need to make sure you're on the same page, though.
Yeah.
So usually when we do a podcast, we have someone on. We talk about something that I usually have a sense that we should, or a thought in my head, or the team gets together, and then I ask a series of questions. But today's different because you and I were just shooting the breeze the other day and just having a good old time riffing about that sweet fitness.
Yes.
And I was like, hello? Let's get JD on. And why don't you, because you are like me, just have a lot of things that pop in your head.
Yes.
Because we were just going back and forth in that conversation. I was like, why don't you just, I don't know, bring some different perspective and thoughts in your head and almost, not to catch me off guard, but I think sometimes the best conversations just kind of organically happen with just thoughts and feelings in the moment.
Yeah.
And so you have a list of questions you're going to throw at me?
Few. Yeah, well, I'm
not even prepared for this. So like this could be amazing or just a train wreck, but I'm excited that I'm doing this with you.
It's nothing that like I wouldn't call you on the phone or like text you and ask you anyways. So I think you'll be able to handle it. But
how would you maybe categorically list these? Is this because this is still all fitness related, but there's so many things that go into fitness and wellness?
Yeah. I think that some of them are about like fitness itself and working out, doing movements. And then a couple of them, as we get later into my questions, are about mindset, struggling with ebbs and flows of fitness, and getting too obsessed or not obsessed enough. And then kind of some questions just for you about like being a coach. And then I have one at the end about what's coming next for Push. And if you can give us any inside scoop about anything that might be happening.
Ooh, all right. Let's just get into it.
Let's just get into it.
And let's just riff.
Okay, so the first one is about the pain cave. I've only been doing CrossFit for 2 years. So Push has been my first gym. And there's a lot of phrases that you use. Oh, yeah, God. I feel like you use a lot of phrases I've never heard before in the fitness world.
And a lot of them are just made up, and I don't know if they even work, but I love it.
Yeah, and so now I say pain cave all the time.
Okay.
And I think that some people are really, really good in the pain cave, and some people kind of struggle in the pain cave. So what do you think? Talk to me about like that intrinsic trait of just kind of being able to like push and suffer. And how do you think some people can versus can't disassociate from that type of pain? Is that what makes an athlete like great? And then on the opposite end, this is the long question, but why do you think people cheat? And do coaches notice when people cheat? And how do you deal with different mentalities in a class? Long question.
Why I love doing this with you is because everyone usually has feedback to me of like, that was great, but you ask 19-part one question.
That was
and I'm
so,
like,
that was
no,
so
I don't.
Much.
Your mom does. And I'm sitting here, I'm like, oh my God, this is what they're talking about. Yeah, it's like a Russian doll of questions. They just keep going. And I love it.
Okay.
So don't judge us, people.
Okay, yeah, this is going to be a lot.
So I cannot take credit for Pain Cave,
Okay.
but I think just because that's so refined, I'm usually more saying things like Taint Swinger.
Yes.
Right?
Which you definitely have
brand.
coined.
Yeah. So don't take that, fitness world. They're like, trust me, you can have
You're
it.
going to be fine.
I heard something the other day on a podcast, and they referenced the Jungle Bridge.
Never heard of her.
Yeah. I'm thinking it's near or synonymous with the Taintal region.
Okay.
And that made me laugh out loud. So maybe I'll try to force that into a cue. But anyway, to go back to your question.
I kind of like both. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, Jungle Bridge? That is amazing.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And you can't unsee that.
No, you can't.
Yeah. Okay. Let's unpack that because I love that. The Pain Cave. Do I think people, let's go with the first part. Because obviously when I heard cheaters and that thing that stuck out. So we can kind of circle back to that.
But the first part was, do you think it's an intrinsic trait that people have, or can you get better in it? I mean, just what is it, and how do we get better about being in it?
Yeah, I
Things like that.
I think the easiest answer is the annoying one is like, it depends. But I think, yes, we can get better at things. I think we often think I can only train my body. Like my muscles can be trained, but I think life is a habit and we can train all things, especially mindset.
Mm-hmm.
I think it takes a little bit longer to kind of sift through the weeds on how to do that because you can just walk into the gym and be like, have you squatted? You're like, nope. Coach puts you in a bar. It goes down. You're like, is that good? You're like, it's fine. And then we can fix it and we train it, use that word. And then like all of a sudden we can see very much in real time, like, oh, my legs are getting stronger. My back's getting stronger, whatever it is. Mindset's a little different because I think that's a whole, how are you raised? What seems to be naturally in you? What were you exposed to? I think a lot of things comes from exposure, which is why I'm a huge advocate of just getting into some type of sports when you're younger because you get exposed to just kind of, being told the rules by someone else that isn't your parents, and like, oh, I got to be on time. And if you're early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're 5 minutes late.
Yeah.
And I got to go to bed. And, oh, this is what it's like to really sacrifice your body for the game-winning run or whatever it is. I think you learn these things as kids without knowing you're learning it. As a kid, you're like, I just want to play with my friend Billy. And you're like, cool. But you don't realize, like, oh, man, you're the type of person who will, stand up close to the plate and get hit by a pitch and feel that pain just so you can get on base for the team. Like there's these things that are building inside of you. I think it reminds me when Luna was younger, and if she ever listens to this, she'll probably hate me for this, but I think like kids are a great example because they only have so much vocabulary, but they're trying to describe a vast thing of feelings. So she's like, my tummy hurts. And I'm like, oh, you're sick. She's like, and it ends up she was hungry. Next time she's like, my tummy hurts. I'm like, oh, you're hungry. No, she has to go to the restroom. Oh, my tummy hurts. Oh, you got to go to the bathroom? No, now I'm sick. I'm like, get new words, girl.
Figure it
out. I'm trying to help you here. So sometimes we need exposure to different levels of, the Pain Cave, or I kind of call like the shitty 6 and 7. It's never a 10. It's I'll pretty much tell you this. It's never a 10. Even when you think like, I don't know, what about that one? No, it wasn't a 10. Like to actually have, if you ever watch these like ultra marathon videos and bodies are like crumbling, trying to get past the finish line, like your ATP shuts off, sending things to your body and muscles to like get production of energy going. It's your brain is like, hey now, what you doing? My legs are on fire. You should stop. And you're like, okay. And then a lot of people do. And some people can push you that better.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it's also, at least for me, that's the easiest thing to speak from perspectively, is the kind of whys behind we do stuff and what are you willing to do. I think everyone wants something, to use that W word, but not as many people are willing to use the other W word to do what it takes to get that. It's the whole like life's easy when it's easy. That's why it's called that. But what are you willing to do when shit gets hard?
Yeah.
And I think that's the whole like the character forming on things is, the whole like, oh, it's in a perfect world. I'm like, the world's not perfect and it never will be. It was never designed to be that way. I think we need to know how to handle certain things. So I think the more we put ourselves into certain workouts, as silly as that seems on paper, it does transcend, I think, to other character traits in the real world. But I think athlete wise, I think the more hard shit you're willing to do, the more adapted you get to it. And then you recreate the narrative. So I think there's always a natural critic in our brain that's like, you can't do this. This is too hard. What are you thinking? You'll never catch that person on that run ahead of you. And you need to know how to kind of recreate that. It's like, hey, I didn't catch them, but I also didn't quit. F you, critic. And it slowly builds up over time.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I think that in terms of pain cave versus when my brain tells me I can't do something, which I want to go back to the cheating thing, but I think that this goes on great with my next question is when I'm on a berg or I'm on a rower or I'm running, my brain I can completely dissociate from my brain. Mm-hmm. I can basically almost make myself pass out, but that like I want it that badly to like be successful or win or do well. But then something like watching like Caroline get under a barbell and just squat 265 pounds for 3, mm-hmm. I get under a barbell or I approach the bar to try to snatch, or even a workout where I'm having to clean more than 105 pounds more than 6 times, my brain shuts off. My brain is like, you're not strong enough for this. You can't do this. And I basically go into the lift without just telling myself that, oh, this lift just isn't going to happen. So I think it depends on your strength.
So what were you, though? And just to credit her, I think today she did 275 for 3.
She's an animal.
Just a beast. I love it. Okay, my question to you back is, what was your prior sport exposure before 2 years ago to CrossFit?
I was a gymnast, which is why I can do like handstand stuff.
Okay.
And then I was a ski racer. I've been a skier my whole life, but then I was a competitive swimmer.
Okay. So I think what's going on is, not to ever speak for Caroline or anyone else really, but just knowing a lot of our joking banter and shit talking back and forth is, in comp the other day, we did a warm up that had rowing and wall balls. And I'm like, cool, this is whatever, easy peasy. And she posted like her heart rate is 186. She's like, what the fuck? So I think she, again, I don't know exactly, probably has a similar narrative, but on the opposite stuff for you. I think there's a certain level of what are you previously exposed to. Correct me if I'm wrong. You're also the person who's like willy-nilly signed up and tried to run the Seattle Marathon to qualify for the Boston, and pretty much was going to, besides before you're back kind of, and you just were like, yeah, let's do it. I think sometimes what have you been exposed to so you have more confidence? I think confidence comes from reps, and I'll just mean reps like barbell, but like reps of life. Like, I think we fear what we can't comprehend that we can do, or we've never done. And I think that fear goes away over time when we realize, oh, wait, I can do it. Or, oh, wait, all these worst case scenarios have not come true. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's just my brain doing human brain shit. And I think monostructurals, I think it is easier to potentially not stop because your legs are naturally churning on the bike. You can slow down, but you can keep going. To pick up that barbell one more time for a thruster, it's every rep is like a conversation that you need to beat yourself on and convince. You're like, don't do it. You're like, do it. You're like, fine. Rowing, you can have that conversation and not realize 100 meters just passed. You're like, oh, I'm closer. Don't get me wrong. Again, we're recording this Monday. We got some gross row shit coming on Tuesday.
Of course we do.
And there's going to be some don't want to keep doing this, but it can be over pretty quick and it's different. I think when you see meters trickle down so quickly, you're like, all right, at least it visually looks faster.
Yeah.
Do you want to go back to the cheater thing?
Yes, let's do it.
So do I know when people cheat?
Just because I'm curious, because I just because I was such an athlete growing up my whole life and training so much, ingrained in my brain, like cheater, that you just don't do that. And I think it's such a it tells you so much about someone's character, and so I'm just so anti-cheating. So I always just wonder, like, do you guys notice? How many reps are you really counting? And what do you do when you see it?
Oh, I know.
I
need you to know.
I know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I don't know how far I want to go politically correct wise on like using an extreme example to compare cheaters to, but it's like right up there with people who just linger a little too long at children that aren't theirs. They're like the same level with me.
You hate that.
Can't fucking stand it, or you as a human. And if you're like, well, that's rude, that means you're identifying as a cheater, and I don't care. Don't get me wrong. Okay. we're all people going through human experience. We have insecurities. A lot of us put our identities on, I'm an athlete, I'm a this, I'm a that, instead of like, I'm me and I do those things. And I think that kind of comes with just getting older and being mature and going through pitfalls and all that stuff. I mean, I'm very competitive, but if you don't get that itchy, I feel like a piece of shit feeling when you know you cheated, like, I think that's just a character trait. We absolutely notice, and it's funny, I was just having this conversation the other night. I think in your bubble that we live in, like, in general, we have to realize, like, us, the fitness bubble is pretty small in the grand scheme of like the globe bubble, and then CrossFit within the fitness realm, and then our gym within CrossFit, so I think we just get exposure to this and that. So I think it's pretty fair to assume if you've been going to, let's just use push as an example, push for a while, you start to recognize, oh, Caroline's strong. Oh, Trevor's really good at rowing. Oh, fill in the blank. So it's not that these people can't be beaten, like, they're real people. They maybe had a bad day or didn't eat well, or we're getting new members all the time. So like, someone was a strong person before Caroline, and now, like, to keep using that as an example. But I think once you start topping those people, the spotlight's going to be shifted to you a little bit, which is like cool if that means anything to you. But take the responsibility that if it shifts to you, people are now going to be like, I want to see this. Mm-hmm. That means people are going to be watching.
Yeah. Totally.
And I would say it's probably more noticeable to notice cheaters who go towards the top of the leaderboard, because you're like, okay, my eyes naturally go towards top of leaderboards. And it probably is obvious if it's someone who you kind of hold yourself and like, oh, I'm close to that person when it comes to running or fitness in general. I can't stress this enough. There's so many reasons why this is bullshit. If you cheat, first of all, you're taking away all the hard work that other people are doing. Like, you have no idea what my journey is. Like, a lot of people have no idea what your journey is. You don't know if you're struggling with something. You're like, I finally are able to link my double unders. I can finally do this workout. And like, we had Carrie on the last one, and she crushed that. And Monica crushed that, right? Two athletes right. And
Carrie.
They're both great.
Love
and 2 athletes who are not going to beat Caroline in strength, but now unlock this skill that a lot of people get frustrated about. And so imagine if they finally unlock this, they already probably maybe had some doubts with the barbell, and they said, fuck it, I'm doing it anyway. Like, life's hard. Time to step up. And they did, and they crushed it. And, frickin' cheater McAsshole over here is like, yeah, that was hard. Am I right? And got like 100 more reps. I'm like, you just stole their thunder that they earned.
Yeah.
And you did it. Like, why? And worst part for yourself is you're actually not getting the benefit of training. Like, you didn't do those reps. So imagine if you did get 100 more reps, you'd be that much more fit. Mm-hmm. And you'd actually have that much more exposure to the pain cave. Like, there's so many things you're missing out on. And then what's worse is people know. So now they're holding you to that. They're like, oh, you're the cheater in the gym. How do we handle it? It is not fun. It is not easy, which is also why I hate it, because I'm like, don't put me in a position to do that. It's also hard because sometimes like counting in fitness is a hard thing. Like, counting double unders really tired as you want to throw up. Like, I get if someone's off by like 4 or 1, like, okay. If you're like 1, 2, no one's watching. Okay, cool. Anyway, I'm done. I'm like, hold on. I know 50 unbroken takes 30 seconds and you somehow finish in 17. No way in hell you just did that. And you're okay with this? So if it's a consistency, I've had difficult conversations privately. And you can only handle it as professional as you think you can, to say, hey, this is not the culture we're trying to create here. Here's why. You're hurting yourself. You don't realize that you're probably hurting others. You're putting us on the spot as from the top down, owners and coaches. Like, we're trying to hold a standard. So now, like, I'm going to say that. Some people handle it really well. Some people kind of play it off and then don't do it anymore, which is like, okay, like, that's all I needed to take. I'm fine with that. Some people I've never heard back from.
Wow.
But I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Then if you're going to keep bouncing around gym to gym thinking you're a top dog, I'll meet you in a comp somewhere and let's see how that goes.
Yeah.
Because that's the one thing I learned really early on in CrossFit. Like, if you cheat in the open, if you cheat and you get to this next level, you're eventually on stage.
Right.
And there's no hiding.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to be like, that person got that far? Like, we've all had bad workouts, but you can tell when someone's like, have you ever held a jump rope in your life?
Yeah.
Like, do you know where the chalk bucket is? Like, what's happened? Like, why are your shoes off rowing? And like, it's, well, why are you backwards? Like, what happened?
Yeah.
You know, like, what did you do? Who judged and validated this person?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's just not fun to be around. But like, I get it. We're people. A lot of us came from competitive backgrounds that we don't know where that outlet goes anymore. And we're like, I need to put it somewhere. So you put it in CrossFit. But like, it's just not benefiting anyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Next question.
Same page.
There you go.
Let's see what I want to ask next. Oh, I'll just go into my next one. So you obviously eat, sleep, breathe, work, CrossFit. I know I have a job that makes me travel all the time. I'll be in for a week, out for a week. Other things happen, relationships happen, friendships, or a number of things in my life outside the gym sometimes have drained me so much that I just feel like I can't make it in, whether that be a day, whether that be this week has been really hard. Has there ever been a point in your life when you thought you needed a break from CrossFit or competing? And I just kind of want to hear, like, has it gone in waves? And how do we as athletes combat those ebbs and flows of motivation in order to be the best athletes we can be, but hold ourselves accountable to like continuing to come into the gym?
Have I ever felt those desires?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I'm human.
Yeah.
But I never have.
Yeah, I feel like, yeah, maybe interesting.
Mm-hmm. I don't feel like these are why feelings were designed. I think we need to understand that we're a certain, I don't know, product of our species. But imagine a while ago, like, there weren't concerns about like, oh, is my Instagram photo liked? Does that boy or girl like me or this? It's like, oh, what was that crack of a twig in the dark woods as I'm making a fire? Is that a tiger? I'm going to die. You know, like, there's a sympathetic, parasympathetic nervous system and all these things kick on. And all these things stay in our kind of biology and evolution. So like, there's feelings and we're real. And I think we need to acknowledge them. I think I take them as more like road signs of like, hey, why are you feeling that way? You should check that. And so I think I try to be a person of just discipline and principles and live my life this way. Because I think if you know who you want to be, then when all these things come at you at life, you already know how you want to, or at least should respond. So I know, I literally wake up and I have sometimes like my private books and my thought process. And I always get up before the girls do. And I say, today I want to be the best husband I can and the best dad I can. And I'm going to work out today and hopefully be the best coach I can. Don't always crush it. But like, I don't think, oh, I'm going to go like paint a picture and say, fuck it. And just like, I don't just try to get distracted with those things. But because I know I'm going to want to be. And so I just really tell myself, I always feel better after. Mm-hmm. I'm also in a position I probably, if I like it or not, like lead by example. I can't be like, all right, guys, as I'm like wiping like Cheeto dust off my hands and like, what you really got to do is eat like it's going to be hard to have buy-in from me. I found I've always been active, but I definitely found like I'm working out in the gym, not like a sport. And CrossFit during kind of a low time. So it's always been my kind of like safety net and backbone to feel like I have stability in my life and like a center.
Yeah.
I think it's also a very rare thing that you can choose every day to do hard stuff. I think sometimes hard things happen to us and we just react to it. Then we have this like victimizing mentality of like, oh, life, work, boss. But this is like, I'm choosing to show up and I'm taking this power back and I'm taking this control. And like, ooh, I didn't even know I could do that. How cool is that? And I could really think it can shift your mental energy as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, the answer is like, of course I feel feelings. But no, I think the longest I've ever taken off training in the last 15 years is 10 days. Because I traveled to Japan.
Yeah.
And I think I did like maybe 4 sets of 20 naked push-ups in the shower. Never told Trish. Not like in the shower, but in the bathroom.
Yeah.
I'm like, I gotta get a pump. I don't know. Like, I gotta do something. I'm driving.
I gotta get a pump.
I don't like doing nothing.
Yeah.
Like I don't feel productive. I don't feel good. My brain goes to however, like there's only 100% of 100%. I think people find fitness and health and wellness later and they try to shove it in their pie chart. Mm-hmm. And once it gets too much pressure or stress, I think the last thing you kind of shove in pops back out. instead of reorganizing everything else. So I kind of reorganized my life around like, can I be the best husband, the best dad, and I'm going to make some dope fitness.
Yeah.
And then the rest is like, what bandwidth do I have left? So you know, if you have to travel, you have to travel.
Yeah.
I either suggest try to do a drop-in that's kind of like low-key. Don't like stress about it. You're not going to lose your gains, even though we always jokingly feel like we are in a week. But mainly don't have this like self-deprecating, like don't beat yourself up.
Yeah.
Like that's just creating more stress release and all that in your body. And it's like, it's okay. And especially if we're talking about you, for example, like you have a history of athletic background. We always be like, oh man, took 4 days off. Feel like I lost it. Mm-hmm. You didn't. People who have a stronger background can come back quicker than those who don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that for me, growing up as an athlete, I always found that when I was a swimmer and I was doing 3-hour practices 7 days a week, where I was a gymnast and I was doing 4-hour practices 5 days a week, I actually found that, and I would be eating dinners in the car and my mom would be driving me, or I would be driving myself an hour and back from Mercer Island, and then I had to go home and do homework. I actually found myself to be more productive than the people that weren't athletes and would just go home and watch TV for a few hours before they finished their homework. And then obviously just like learning dedication and hard work and wanting to put your best foot forward and produce something that you're proud of. I think balancing school and being an athlete was really, really helpful for me. And then just being competitive and wanting to be fit. I was doing the gym thing too. I was doing the not CrossFit, just free weightlifting in the gym, got bored, wanted to be pushed a little bit harder. And so and my older brother had been doing CrossFit, and that's how I found it. And it's just been like so transformative. Like I'm an athlete again. And I think I do go through the ebb and flow, maybe where you don't, where I'll take a couple days off because I'm tired, and then I'll fall into, it honestly kind of reminds me of like an eating disorder a little bit. Like you have 2 really bad days of binging, and then you are like, oh, well, I already fucked myself, so might as well just binge more, or I already missed 2 days of the gym, might as well just take the week off.
Yeah.
And
start again Monday.
Or you see your body start changing, and then because you didn't go to the gym for 2 days, and then you're like, fuck, I'm so far behind, you know?
Yeah.
So I think
it's a slippery slope.
It is, and allowing yourself to slip, you have to find a balance, because you don't want to put too much pressure on yourself that you can never miss a day, because that in itself is unhealthy, but it's also so important to hold yourself to a standard.
Okay. Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yes. Mainly because our brains work the same. Everyone listening is like, wait, what's happening right now?
Yeah, maybe that was not.
No.
That was a Julia Aidan conversation.
Wait, is this recording? Let's kind of go through it. I don't like the word perfect. It's a word we just as people created. It has false expectations. Like, I think you should be 85%, 100% of the time.
Yeah.
Fitness by its definition of like what we're doing is damaging to the body. Like, whoever at the end of Fran is like, oh man, I feel fit and healthy. Thanks, coach. You're like, call me a gurney and I'm like a hospital bed. It is damaging. What we're doing is damaging to our body. What we do outside of it is really where like all the greatness is happening. We just don't feel it and see it right away. And we're like, oh. So it ends up like, I'm working out. I never rest. Or I don't take care of any of my other stresses. And then we wonder why my cortisol level's high, or why am I not sleeping well, or why I thought fitness was supposed to be stress relieving. Like, I'm going to punch a hole in the wall. And it's like, it is its own thing, just like everything else in your life is its own thing. We're just, I think, cramming a lot of shit on our plate. And I think it's just easy to get rid of the hard thing you're volunteering to pay money to do. And so but I need a job. Oh, but I don't know. This week my relationship is going well. Happiness, and like we just keep doing these things. And I really wish people, almost as scary and weird and maybe, I don't know how it would sound, but like prioritize health and fitness and then the rest. And I don't mean like, hey kid, figure out how to get home from school this time. Dad is baking broccoli, like, no, but you don't need to be doing all this other stuff. Or why don't you take a look within on what else is on your plate and see if you can adjust and organize all that. Because I feel like a lot of people are so stressed out and get rid of fitness, but that's not the answer.
Yeah.
And you do need rest days. So I was having a great Saturday this past Saturday. Warmed up, like, again, that crazy warm up, and then hadn't front squatted in a little bit and was hitting like 300 for threes. And I was like, oh, shit. Okay, still got it. And then something kind of gave my back, which I sometimes have this recurring thing. And just like an hour ago, I was like, oh, I can sit upright.
Yikes.
And I think what's going on is I've done this for so long now. I know in the grand scheme of life, I have a very long con perspective on things, not short term. Is like someone else be like, oh my God, but quarterfinals, and they start to spin out. But I've already trained my brain to be like, dude, you're fine. Like, this sucks, but like, what do you think was going to happen? You're squatting 300 for reps and you're 2 years away from being 40 years old. Like,
yeah,
take the responsibility on that. And I also trust myself that I know that, like, oh, I've felt so many things in my body. This is just kind of like a thing.
Yeah.
And like, okay, and you move on. And like, I don't identify myself as just an athlete.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, well, I can still coach. I had a personal training session with someone today for the first time and like helped unlock some like snatch technique. I'm like, that was so rewarding. And Trish and I have been like laughing all day. And I helped a family friend wheelbarrow some like gravel to her pea patch. I'm like, I'm being a productive person around the people in my life that I care about. And it's a fucking Monday.
Yeah.
I'm already feeling better. I'm going to train tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like, you just got to know how to woo-saw and trust the grand scheme process. And if you travel, then you travel.
Yeah.
If you don't like traveling, that's a separate conversation with your boss. Like, I don't want to travel that much.
Yeah.
Like, this is our life. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you can make choices. Some are scary and hard, but please don't let go of fitness, and please don't over do fitness to compensate for gaps and lapses you have in other things of your life, or you're just adding more chaos to it and not taking care of yourself. So
Mm-hmm.
if you're really stressed out and working out really hard, but then not sleeping, not eating right, you're doing like heroin on the side, you're just like doing shots of God knows what other heroin. I don't know how you take heroin. Then you're not going to be like, what? I thought fitness was good for you.
Yeah.
It's not an eraser to
Yeah.
all other bad stuff.
Yeah. I feel like,
Does that kind of answer that?
no, it totally does.
At
And
least
it
for
leads,
you,
and
our brain?
yes,
Okay.
yes.
Listeners, sorry.
And it
Keep with
leads
us.
to my next question. So everything you just kind of talked about, and then also what you just said kind of leads to my next question. So on the contrasting end, do you think there's such thing as caring too much about CrossFit and your performance to a point where it becomes obsessive and damaging to someone's mental? And like, I think that that happened to me for a little bit before I kind of found my resurgence honestly only a couple of weeks ago. And then the second part of it is obviously balancing is going to look different for everyone, but what does a healthy balance look like to you in general, and how has it changed for you specifically as you've gotten older? Not that you're old. Gotten married, and now you have a teenage daughter. Like, how that was a really long, of course, question with so many questions
I'm
in
retaining
it.
it all.
But try, yeah, okay. That was my question.
Wait, that being said, what? Yes. Is there too much on the other? Is the other side of the coin is, can you care so much it's unhealthy?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I think I kind of define health as sustainability, and that could be mindset, that could be emotional, that could be physical, that could be nutritional. And so, meaning I need to kind of know I'm in control of that. So when I first started, like anyone else who first did their open, they kind of were like, I don't know about this. And then they did it. They're like, oh yeah, let's do it. I'm going to be so good. And I remember the owner of the gym I did the first open at shot me a screen picture because I did the workout. And I'd do it like the second it got released. I think I've told this story before, but I'll sum it up. I was dating someone else at the time. It was forever ago. Sorry, babe. And
Love you, Trish.
Love you, sweetheart. And we were going on a little weekend getaway. I was like, I told him I'd do this. Let's just get this done. And it was 7 minutes of max burpees, jump into a target 6 inches above your head. I was like, oh, okay. So I did it. He shoots me a screen message. He's like, hey, enjoy this now. I don't understand the context of that. And I'm fourth like in the world. And I'm like, man, I'm pretty good at CrossFit.
Yeah, I'm fit.
Wow. And I like just started, guys. You guys should catch up. I haven't even trained for this. And then this whole time in this supposed like nice romantic couples weekend getaway, I'm like refreshing the page every fucking 5 minutes. And she could have been just standing there naked with a cup of coffee. I'm like, hold on, I'll be right there. Didn't even notice. Yeah. Would I think that's unhealthy? For sure.
Yeah.
You're losing sight of the things around you, the things that actually matter. And I'm not in control of how much I'm even noticing I'm refreshing the page there. I think anyone who's ever done any type of dieting or probably get into CrossFit did paleo at some point. And I started to notice I wasn't attending certain family events or celebrations because I didn't want to be tempted by stuff, or I wasn't drinking. But I'm like, God, what is this for?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see my riblets, but I'm pretty sure I could have this and that and still see them. And like, I think you kind of need to go through these whoopsie daisy moments to kind of gain that in hindsight perspective. And your choice if you learn from it or not. I can very easily guilt myself. And so my mom's putting effort into family events and cooking and all this and that. And I'm like, no, thanks. That's not paleo. I'm like, wow, you suck as a human and as a son. And I beat myself up enough. And so like, I choose to be like, hey, don't be that. And so you end up kind of being a bowling ball, bumping down the lanes until you kind of smooth out. So at first it's kind of, I think you need to make, I don't know, accidentally selfish decisions or not the right decisions or the right ones in order to learn from, like, I think you get validated by success, but you learn more from failures in my experience. And so based on just how I listen to them, my feelings go back to that. I'm like, ooh, I'm triggering something. Like, I don't feel good about how I handled that or treated that person. Like, is that really worth it to me? And I'll be like, nope, it's not. Can I peel that back a little bit? So I think whenever you feel out of control or you're impacting yourself or others to the negative, even if that's like, I don't care about fitness enough or I care about fitness so much, then yeah, I think we need to kind of smooth out that, say with that analogy, that bowling ball and go right down the middle. But it takes a while to find that. Again, like I'm 2 years away from 40. I've been moving since 5. I've been in team sports forever, personal training and CrossFitting and coaching and this type of world for like 15 years. I did not perfect it right away. Yeah. But I think you don't realize that because you're in that moment right now. You're 2 years into that, and someone else is. Yeah. So there's so many chapters to this book. Yeah. And this book's never ending. I totally agree. Just being 2 years in, I've gone through a lot of changes in my mindset, and my job is pretty demanding. And so I look at people now in the gym that I think are awesome that have kids, and they're trying to balance their kids and the gym and performing well. And then I look at like the comp group, and I see that that's mostly young people without kids. And how is that going? I mean, and then you were obviously doing, shout out Andy. Yeah. Oh God, Andy's my favorite human ever. But you were doing CrossFit. It's different because CrossFit is your job. But yeah, I just think it's so interesting to look at and think about how my relationship with CrossFit has already changed and how it will change I've only been an affiliate owner for a handful of years. I wouldn't say CrossFit is my job. And so I think principally you need to understand what you do and why you're doing it, right? Like I knew, and we were kind of talking about this in the car on the way over, I knew what I didn't want to do growing up. You said, have you ever had like a desk job? And I was like, nope, never wanted that shit. Yeah. Okay. Well, now that's like X amount of options off the table. You still got a good job. You still got to figure out your purpose in life, figure it out, blah, blah, blah. And so I think sometimes you can kind of walk through the door forward or backwards. I think I walked through the door backwards, so to speak, but I still found my way there. I have always cared to be really good at what I do. Yeah. I take a lot of pride in just how I think I present myself and articulate myself, and in this case, move and lead and this and that. And so I think if you can put yourself in a certain department or area or something that allows you to express that, and you can make a livelihood, great. Like, I love people. I love dealing with people. They can always be like frustrating, but like in the grand scheme, I think human relationships are extremely important. I mean, there's 8 billion of us. We can't do it all on our own. And we got to like choose to be here and like-minded people and work on our body and, fortify our resilience and all that. Like, there's so many cool things that kind of come with this. So yeah, it's sometimes easier for me to like work on stuff because I'm already at the gym. Like, oh, I have a break, I'll do extra cardio. But I mean, I think we're all still going through the same stuff. Yeah, for sure. I got taxes to pay today. That wasn't fun if you're a small business owner. And like, is Luna in a good mood today or not? I don't know. Like, shout out parenting. Like, there's so many things I think people go through. But it's also, the two sides of the coin. When you see someone like an Andy with like kids and like real adult job who's still doing it, kind of like in one side of my mood is like, hey, people who don't have that, get it together. There's people who have harder stuff going on who are still doing it.
Yeah.
But the other side of the coin, I'm like, use that for inspiration, not like a guilt trip, but like, see, like you can do it.
Yeah.
Like we just gotta like, again, figure out the routine that allows you to feel like you can succeed in that.
Yeah. Well, that kind of...
Did that answer like...
It did.
I said I held some of those questions in my head, and I feel like I did not.
No, it
think
definitely
there was a
did.
part 2 on one a while ago. I just want to make sure I'm covering
The second part was how has it changed for you as you've gotten older, gotten married, and now have Luna? But I think you kind of answered that.
I mean, when it comes to at least my perspective on parenting is I'm treating this like stock investment. I'm going to try to just lead by example, say the right things, and hopefully like the return of interest is great. And she quotes me in a positive way when she's 10, 15 years older and she's not off doing crazy shit now. And she still likes hanging out with us, which is good. And one day if she's ever, this amazing, successful person and she's asked a question on a podcast, what about your childhood? She's like, I just remember my parents always got up on time and went to the gym and worked hard. That would be like all I can ask for.
Yeah.
Like besides her knowing how to create her own happiness and find peace and contentment and all that. The marriage thing is I'm just so fucking grateful I can do this with Trish. Yeah. Like even now I almost get tearful. Like
well, don't make me cry because
it's just like I'm very aware I'm fortunate and I have no goal in messing that up. And it's also a huge pride I put on myself to like, let's help create this thing for a livelihood for the family, but to also like be able to continue to do this fun thing. I get to create projects with her. I'm painting on one corner and she's doing something else in the gym. I'm like, we get to do this together. Yeah. Like this could have been so much different if you're running a gym and your person's like, I don't give a shit.
Yeah. I don't care about
that. Could be very stressful there, but we get to share a lot of this, both positive and negatives. Yeah. Yeah. So it changes. Like, I think when you're younger, you want to be the most badass person in the room. I still try to do that in a way. Like I try to take pride that you said, oh, no offense, you're getting older. I'm like, hey, if I'm still kicking most people's ass and I'm nearing 40, part of me is like, good for you. And also like catch up, like I want to set that bar high for others, but like my ego is at the point, I don't care if you beat me. Yeah. I'm like, damn, like Trevor, you fucking crushed it, bro. Yeah. Because I'm like, he put hard work in. Like, I'm not so insecure. Like, am I going to be like 78 years old and still like number one in the gym on 4 to 5 workouts? No way. Like something's going wrong in the program, or the culture in the gym. Yeah. I'm just grateful I can keep doing it. But yeah, you change perspective a little bit. I want to run a good gym. I want to still lead by example physically. And I have said this forever. I want to go to the CrossFit Games as a Masters. Oh, yeah. Like Masters. Not like I'm technically now, but like I just want to be able to do this forever and just long con everyone. Mainly I want Rich Froning to finally retire so I can get out of his age bracket. But like
everyone ever.
I want to be 50 and still be able to do stuff and be like, see, like this is really the longevity of it. You know, like Kyle's going to smoke me now. And I want him to, and I want him to succeed. And like, I just enjoy that I can keep doing this and sometimes do some workouts that people are like, damn, you're crazy, man. I'm like, yeah, that's right. I'm loco, like, why don't you do it? You can do it too. Yeah. I'm trying to like lead by fun, crazy example.
Okay. Well, my next question is kind of about leading by example or looking at or being inspired by others. I feel like most people know at this point that like you are one of my biggest role models, one of my like besties. Shout out. We fist bumped for everyone that is not watching. Yeah. So who is your biggest role model? Who do you look up to as you're approaching your 40s and want to be want to do masters? And I mean, who keeps you inspired and keeps you working hard?
My mom. It's probably the easiest answer and probably the only answer. I mean, my parents are both great. I think when she has that, and again, we've had her on. Yeah, in general, like I would say kind of to a degree, the buck stops there. Like I've never been this like Jersey chaser. I've never been like, I just want to be like Mike, I'm like these sports stars, like they're sports stars, not necessarily role models. They can be, but I think most of them are like, I need to make a livelihood. I'm really good at this thing. Some people use that platform for greatness. Some are not. I don't know, been in the industry in the grand scheme. I mean, 15 years is long, but for how long fitness has been around, they don't really have role models in the fitness industry. But
Interesting.
Yeah, not that maybe sounds more egotistical. Like no, there's things I look at. I'm like, wow, like that's awesome, that's great. But I'm never like starstruck.
Yeah.
I'm never like, I want to be like them when I grow up. It's
oh my God, I get starstruck by like so many girls in the gym.
I'm just kind of like, you're just a human who goes through stuff, who poops and farts and eats and does normal human stuff. And I think we just put people on pedestals because they happen to be really good at the thing we happen to like.
Yeah.
Can you imagine someone who's like, I don't give a shit about basketball? They're probably like, okay, LeBron who? Like, I get who you are, but like, I'm sure if they said hi and he was really rude, they'd be like, rude?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what the heck? You know, like, we're still humans. Like, again, I'm not trying to like take away the awesomeness, but like, I think fame is a whole different tangent we can go off on, how we kind of over credit people for things. But my mom just being adopted in a weird childhood and now being this amazingly successful self-business female owner that is just somehow does it with such grace and doesn't yell at people and curse and like, just doesn't have temper tantrums and is always so like giving with her time. I mean, if anything, the one thing I want to kind of help her is like, it's okay to say no. Like she's still right now, I think Wednesday we're going for dinner because the next day she's going to Guatemala to give a speech. I'm like, oh, just that casual Guatemalan trip. Yeah. And she just got back from 4 of the trips and she's, you know, hopefully she doesn't hate me for this, but like closer to 80 than not. And she's still doing all this. And so I'm like, wow. So this, ironically, the thing I'm now crediting my mom for hard work and my dad for helping her with all this. And he was a professor and he definitely has his isms and principles is probably where I get it from. Like it was just us 3.
Mm-hmm.
So like those 2 are the easiest kind of answers for that. And like truthful ones.
That's a great answer.
So hopefully like now, again, years from now, Luna will be like, yeah, my mom and dad.
My mom and dad.
No.
Yeah, that's great.
Did I answer that?
Yes, you did. Okay, this one doesn't, I kind of jumped around. So this one doesn't really transition from the last one, but
who cares?
I'm just interested in this and I've never asked you this question before.
Oh.
And specifically because I put such an emotional burden on you, I feel like. Not just like with our relationship in general.
Okay.
Like,
no, you're great.
How do you deal with the emotional burden of, not burden, maybe that's the wrong word. The emotional.
I said bourbon.
Oh, bourbon.
Bourbon and whiskey.
Bourbon is how you deal with the emotional burden.
No, I don't really drink. So go ahead. Yeah, sorry, finish that.
I've seen you drink twice in your life. So in my life, not your life.
You forced one of those birthday shots on me.
Oh, it was so fun.
Yeah.
So how do you deal with the emotional challenge of being a CrossFit coach? I mean, like, just like thinking about all this stuff. I mean, you were literally my first call when I just went through my most recent breakup. You know all of my like stuff with body image and all of my challenges with ED, and you remember all my injuries and you check in on them, and like you do that for everyone else in the gym. Probably not to the extent that you do it for me, but like how do you deal with being someone's coach, but also someone's like friend and just like being, I mean, Trish does the same thing. Like you guys are just so aggressively there for your community. And obviously it shows because of how much the community has grown and how close we all feel to UNT. And like, so how do you handle that and balance that? Because you have your own life and your own family and your own challenges too. You know what I mean?
Oh, no, for sure. Thank you. That's very sweet. First of all, Trish is actually the real superhero here. I think we each have different bandwidths. I mean, she is like weekly volunteering at this, lower income, homeless. I'm still not probably articulating and describing it well. Kind of like, food mart. And we're doing once a month bag lunches, and she is just such an advocate and like just caring, loving person for that. So by nature, that is really hard to not want to be similar when you're around that energy. I mean, I care about you, like JD.
Oh,
so it's easy.
Thanks, man.
It's easy. I think when you see people truly trying to care and they are vulnerable enough to be vulnerable and like tell you things, if your instinct's like, whatever, you're probably just, I don't know, more of an asshole than not, you know? But I care. I think this is not a fitness business necessarily. This is a people business. I think there's a lot of owners who are disconnected from, they just own a gym. They think, well, I have CrossFit on the name, it'll be successful. Like, not really. Some of it's kind of natural. Like I think I do a good job of noticing 9 out of 10 fresh haircuts in the gym and new shoes and this and that. I think we all deal with just shit. We're all kind of sometimes scared and lonely inside. And I think to be recognized is a very empowering thing. Just, hey, I see you. Bye, JD. Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye. You know, like just, I see you leaving the gym and I notice your energy now gone. You know, like I try to say goodbye. Just to let you know, like I'm there. And I think when I see people care, it doesn't drain my bandwidth as much.
Care about like
I can
being
only
a good athlete or just care in general?
Themselves, trying, effort.
Yeah.
I can initially care more about you than you when you start, which is probably why you're searching out for some type of assistance. But eventually I'm going to need to see you do that. And that could even come via struggling. The mere fact you even recognize you're struggling and caring to fix that, I don't need you to be, perfect and you got your shit together. It's just more like you seem to really care, you meaning now anyone, not just you, JD. But like when you see that and you see someone truly going through human shit, then like, why would you not want to be there? It's just my, like, I guess natural, like, oh, I see you're down. And I'm one coffee deep and I have a few would you rathers. Can I help out here? And I just have that, like, and I think when you invest in people, the business will be successful. And so like, I think if you invest in people first and just not a bad coach, the rest of the more business side falls into play. And and her and I've had a lot of kind of off camera conversations. So what she's also saying in a way that I don't know if I'm doing a good job phrasing this, and I'm not trying to belittle anything, is me or Sarah, Trish, the coaches we're one to you. Like we're having this one-on-one conversation. You guys probably don't know it. So if ever I'm bad or slow at responding to text messages, it's because you're one of 200 plus to me.
Yeah.
Not in like you're one of many.
Yeah.
Get in line, girl. No, it's more of just like, I want to give you the bandwidth and the sincerity that you deserve back. But sometimes I'm on a call or I'm on a text or I'm at Luna's volleyball match and I got to put the phone down because I'm trying to be the best dad I can in that moment, And so I do appreciate if there's ever been patience. If you ever thought like, this guy is not always great at responding, I see you. I just need to either know how to formulate the words, or I need to like have the time to be able to do that. Trish and I just care about people is the easiest way to respond to that.
Yeah. I mean, that's what makes the gym so great.
It's rewarding too. Yeah. I mean, I don't know, to see someone like not smile and then smile for the simple, like I was at your presence or I was in your gym or I was around, Julie, you're in a great mood and you don't realize you made someone else smile because I was cueing someone else. I can't always be there. Like I'm there, but I'm not always there. Like I'm fixing someone's knee in the left squat rack, you're in the right, and I hear like Ashley giggle. Like that's a real impact on another human being. And I think that's so often overlooked. Yeah. But it's vital. Yeah. Yeah. So like I just care about you guys is the easy answer. And it's easier when I see you just keep showing up and trying and caring. And when you don't, I eventually probably lose that interest. Never enough that I'm like, hope you die. Yeah. Get sick and diarrhea all night. Like, no, I'm not. You're shunned now from my empathy and sympathy list. No, it's just more like you're constantly around people. And it's so like, it's going on every day. I see you every day. I'm like, how can you not just like, how are you? How's the back, by the way? What's going on? Like, are the knees still caving in? Things like that. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, we got through a good amount. I think we're going to have to skip a few because I really want to ask the last one. What is the biggest change coming for Push, if you can tell us? It doesn't have to be like a huge change, but what's like something that the gym, the community should be excited about? And then on top of that, never
a question without a question.
What is your favorite, what is your like biggest dream for what Push could be? So something that is happening, yes, and something that you really want the gym to eventually become or be, whether that be something as huge as Invictus or something as small as the biggest gym the biggest or most successful gym in the greater Seattle area. I mean, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Okay. So the little changes are the obvious thing, elephant in the room, is we need more space. So the current lease ends at the end of this year. So we've been on looks for a couple. We've really trying to like we're really like aggressively being like, hey, these 2 spaces, can you kind of give us an idea of what's going on timeline? Like, so the inevitability of us moving is there. Like, Joe, it's coming. Sometimes I just get so excited. I'm like, oh, looking for a space. And it's like, okay, like tomorrow. I'm like, nope. Just had a thought. Now I let it out of my mouth. And now you're probably expecting us to move tomorrow. Whoopsie daisy.
Sorry.
Yeah. So a few scenarios is either very grateful our landlord's great. And so he's very aware, like, this is fine how it is. It is nothing personal. We just need more square footage.
Yeah.
So usually in commercial leases, it's not like, can we go month to month? It's, it's
no.
So he's like, even if we worst case need to keep going a little bit, let us know if you find a new space and we'll try to help navigate you out. So I guess kind of quote worst, which is not worst, but it's just current scenario to best case is stay in our space a little bit longer. Space on the other side of the wall becomes available and we can kind of make our current space bigger for a little bit longer to justify doing that. Or a little bit longer with a faster than the lease term we actually sign, because now one of these other bigger spaces open up and then we can move, and then we do. But it's still going to try to be in that same proximity, because I think a lot of our success is also in that.
Yeah.
Now, big goals, I want to take over.
Biggest goal ever. Nothing is crazy. Nothing is.
No, like I want people to be like, oh, not just kind of in Seattle, but like, oh, push. Oh, I think we really care and we really put focus on our coaching. We really put focus on even like the Instagram reels and transition filters. And we want it. I think anyone opens a business, you're like, hope I succeed. And then we kind of realize like, oh, we are.
We actually are doing that.
And I'm kind of like, I hear through other people that they hear through other people, like we're starting to get traction and like, oh, people like, oh, you got to push. And I'm like, okay, that so doesn't cool. Not feel good. You're
it's
like,
so cool.
I want to, eat humble pie, but I'm like,
yeah.
Nope. That's kind of nifty.
Yeah, that's so cool.
I think we really do care. We're not just like, we want to like make you sweat. Like we want to teach you things. We want you to get better. We want you to feel stronger. We want you to feel an athlete IQ that's higher than you've ever had before. Like we want you to like go someplace and you're like, God, where do you train? They're like, oh, this place called Push in Seattle.
Yeah.
We want anyone who's willing to somewhat drive, almost be tempted to leave their gym, not because of anything against them, but they're like, we want to be around this culture that clearly has been created. I want a bigger square footage. So we can almost create like a fitness hall, like a European food hall, but just of like, there's the main fitness thing. Maybe here's a little like espresso stand. There's the cold plunge. There's we want you, especially in this hybrid work area or like time period in life, to almost like not want to leave the gym. It's not just because right now people are so social and I love our people to fucking death, but it can be really like, okay, I feel bad being here forever and chatting. Like, I gotta leave.
And then Tiny Sarah's trying to like scream over the people in the back that are leaving, but like you don't want them to not have a place to do that.
This is what we created. So we want to create a place that's almost like, hey, let me take my work call really quick and then we'll hop back on the floor and chat with you. Or I'm going to now get on the Echo Bike and do like a second piece. Yeah. Like I want you to not want to leave Push. Yeah.
I feel like most people do feel that way.
But now I want to actually we want to give you offerings.
Right.
Not just like sit against the wall and like plug your Wi-Fi in and just be weird in the corner. No, it's like, it's a, clearly T and I are aesthetically, we try to like make things nice and design things. So it's almost kind of like this bigger scale of what we have, this kind of like quasi maybe bougie appearing, but like old school CrossFit feeling.
Yeah.
And I want to create more programs, meaning like if you want to do more, not just the affiliate class, but you want to do some stuff on your own or you're traveling, like you now go Push kind of almost like these other bigger, and it's like, oh, body weight or 60-minute or athlete or masters, or I want to do more programming just because, me, I love programming.
Yeah. Well, you're good at it, so.
Thanks. So we got the, gotta stop talking.
We got the cutoff. I'm shocked that happened to us.
Yeah. What do you mean? Yeah, I was real nervous talking with you. That was great. I loved it. Thank you.
Thanks for inviting me.
Thanks for taking the time to doing all those questions. That was awesome.
Yeah.
Let's do a part 2.
Yeah, let's do it.
Do we answer the questions?
We answered most of them, yes.
We'll see if this even sounds good.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah. Thanks, listeners.
Thanks, you
Fitness
guys.
is neat.
Love you all.
Bye.
Bye.